it's a time of year where there's a lot of there's not much happening in the AFL world, but there's a bit of news filtering through, and the keen track watchers, Scoob, they're around the place, and you have to be quite dedicated to be a track watcher. David King's been doing some heavy lifting. He'll be back on SEN next Friday with myself for Fireball Friday. Josh Skabelich has been doing a bit from the AFL.com.au, and I've appreciated his work. But the diehard fans are out there. And what I have noticed is a few nervous Carlton fans. Just on social media.
Why are they nervous?
Couple of diehard fans starting to tweet about their team's prospects, and I think they're very good. Carlton, they've got a very good list, but there's one very exciting player who hasn't put pen to paper yet. And when you have a player of the talent of Tom De Koning out of contract, and he has the ability that he's got, clubs come hard for him. So I reckon he'd be, I don't know, I reckon he'd be just on the average wage. So the average AFL player wage is about $370,000.
Mm-hmm.
This time, last year I said his next contract would be worth $1 million. And I don't reckon I'm going to be far off. He's 23 years of age. He's 203 centimetres. And the thing about him is that he can be a key forward, but he can also ruck. Now, my message this morning, and I don't want to affront the Carlton fans, is to Essendon. If you are Essendon, you almost write just hand over a blank check and say, what do you want, son? Because they are desperate for a key forward. I think he's absolutely perfect for the Bombers. And the longer he remains unsigned, the more nervous Carlton fans will become, because the club has already said, look, our salary cap, it's bulging. We got Cripps, we got Walsh, we got Curnow, we got Mackay, and both of those last two have just signed big long-term deals. We got Reutering, we paid a stack for Williams, we paid a stack for Sard, we paid a stack for Chera. So there's only so much that goes around. So if De Koning is chasing money, then he's going to get a lot of it. And I think he's going to go from the average wage to about $1 million next year. So my message is to Essendon, and I want to ask the Essendon fans, does he solve some problems for you? As a key forward, Harry Jones and De Koning, two young key forwards, would be terrific, but also as a backup ruckman with Draper, who's really impressive. So that's the number one club that should offer him some cash. Then I go to St Kilda. I think, how good would he be at St Kilda? And they're so reliant on Max King. He'd be perfect. What a team for the next couple of years if he went there. So that's the second team. Then there's Hawthorn, who just need anyone, any amount of talent that they could get under the age of 25. It'd be great there. And then I look at Sydney. They're going to lose Franklin. They're going to lose Reid. Hickey's a B-grade ruckman, with all due respect. And Sydney, we know, go hard for key forwards and got a record of doing that. So there's number 4. And then, to make Carlton fans even more nervous, his premiership brother plays at Geelong down the highway. Now, I wouldn't think Geelong could afford to get him with the players that they've got, but Tom Hawkins is 35. He's going to retire at some point. And Jeremy Cameron's 30. So I reckon Geelong would love to team him up with his brother. There's 5 clubs that should chase the most exciting out-of-contract player this year.
Yeah, well, the most excited person out of all that's his manager.
Exactly.
He's going to get a slice. He's getting a slice of 370 at the minute. He's about to get a slice, if you're right, of $1 million. So he's gone down to the European car yard and he's getting a new Beamer this morning. That's what he's doing.
Well, it sounds crazy, because he hasn't done much, right? With all due respect, I mean these tall players, key position players, ruckmen, take a long time to develop. But 41 games, 12 goals in 4 years. But I look at Luke Jackson. He's a better prospect than Luke Jackson, who went from Melbourne to Fremantle at the end of last year for a huge amount of money. Went home, of course, to Perth, and I think he's the equal, if not better, prospect as Luke Jackson. So Blues fans, are you confident? Are you nervous? As I've seen a few rumblings on social media, 1300 736 736. The other thing I wanted to touch on as well is, the Herald Sun has been all over this umpiring Brownlow situation, and they have speculated without any real evidence. It's more a hunch that the umpires have been checking the stats on the AFL app on their phones after the match, which is not usually the done thing. So the umpires come in after the game, don't have any access to stats. They put in their Brownlow medal votes, and then they're giving their phones back after them being locked up for the game. The question I've got though is if Norm Smith medal voters, I've voted on the Showdown medal here, Scoob, in South Australia, which is a nice award to win. We've all got access to the stats. Should umpires have access to the stats before they put in their Brownlow medal votes?
I don't see a problem with it.
No.
I don't see a problem with it. If we've come off from umpiring, it's been a big game between Port Adelaide and Melbourne, and we're looking whether it was Wines got X amount of clearances out of the middle and Max Gawn got X amount of taps, and you just want to clarify that before you go your 3-2. I just don't see any issue with it. I see zero issue. I think it can only enhance.
Yeah, I wonder, there's two schools of thought because every other award, you've got access to the stats. I mean, even the Coaches Award, they have an extra 24 hours and they have access to the footage before they cast their votes on a Monday. So they've actually watched the game live. They've then, re-evaluated it on their computers before they put their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s in. Each coach does that, and that's a significant award to win. The All-Australian selectors, and we have access to every sort of stat you can possibly imagine. But is it unique that the Brownlow medal doesn't have stats? My view would be we've just made it impossible for the umpires. I mean, the rules change all the time. It's a really tough game to adjudicate. And then after that, you're required to put your 3, 2, 1 in without any stats on what is the most prestigious award to win in the game.